Just as the Minnesota Timberwolves were celebrating their victory over the LA Lakers in a double-digit victory, late-breaking news came out from ESPN and other sources as well, telling us that Tom Thibodeau has been fired as both the president and the head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. This also came as a surprise to Tom Thibodeau as he found out from the CEO and the owner as well after their victory, and they decided to fire him as he was surprised because he didn't thought it came out of nowhere. But in my opinion, when we look back on Tom Thibodeau's career as a Minnesota Timberwolves head coach and GM, I just thought he did a terrible job. For a guy that last year I believed in this team because of all the pieces that they had. Obviously, I didn't believe in the head coach, but when you have guys like Karl-Anthony Towns, Jimmy Butler, Jeff Teague, Taj Gibson, Andrew Wiggins, when you have those type of players, Karl-Anthony Towns if I didn't say him, you have to win, at least be a top 4 team. I'm sorry. I predicted it last year for them being a top 4 team, and they barely made it into the playoffs. It was a win or go home situation for them. And because they won that game against the Denver Nuggets, they got to go on and face the Houston Rockets. But in my opinion, Tom Thibodeau is just in the wrong era as a head coach. I think if he was a head coach in the 2000s and even the early 90s or 80s, I think he would have been a perfect head coach for that system and era because it was very defensive focused. And in today's NBA, we all know that the offense is the biggest thing in the world. We're seeing how the Rockets have revolutionized just ISO ball with 3-point shooting. We saw the Warriors put the Spurs movement on steroids by the way that they're passing, the screens, all the beautiful action that, although we hate Warriors fans and also the Warrior players themselves, they have a beautiful style of basketball that you cannot hate. And I think that because Tom Thibodeau was an old school coach, it just looked bad. I mean, at times they were relying on Jimmy Butler to do way too much, and that's the reason why he got hurt last season. And Tom Thibodeau's style of coaching got a lot of players hurt. Not only Jimmy Butler last season, but also Derrick Rose when he was MVP D Rose. Luckily, he's had some of a resurgence back now, but at the same time, Derrick Rose back then could have been something special. He could have had a longer prime, in my opinion, if Tom Thibodeau didn't just grind him to the bone, carrying, hopefully that he could carry the offense, because that's just not the way it's going to work in today's NBA. It's all about movement, it's all about spacing, it's all about getting everybody the rock. And I think that because Tom Thibodeau was not good at doing that, it limited his team to being the potential that I thought it could have been. And maybe if they would have had a different coach last season, maybe it would have been a different story. Maybe we would have seen a Tom Thibodeau defensive coach, but we would have seen like an offensive coach that would have helped out Karl-Anthony Towns, who's kind of struggling and not really being the dominant player that I know he can be. And also it led to Andrew Wiggins having this complex to where he said that he was the number 1 option. And of course I still laugh at that because I think Andrew Wiggins' contract has been such a waste in my opinion. But just going back to the Tom Thibodeau thing, we all know that Tom Thibodeau helped my Celtics win the championship. He's a great defensive coach, but like I said, offensively, it's just not going to cut it. And I just think that his personnel decisions on who he signed as well. There was a reason why there was a running meme as to why the Minnesota Timberwolves were called the Timber Bulls. Because they kept signing guys like Taj Gibson, Derrick Rose, guys that are former Bulls players that just, in my opinion, don't really fit the system of Karl-Anthony Towns and is really wasting the years of a Karl-Anthony Towns. I think if I'm Karl-Anthony Towns, I might demand a trade. I'm sorry. I just think that that's what Karl-Anthony Towns needs to do, because even though they've been 15-12 without Jimmy Butler since the trade and 4-9 with Jimmy Butler, I just think that they're really wasting the potential and the youth of a Karl-Anthony Towns. Although he's not as dominant as a lot of people like Shaq and other guys that are former NBA players would like him to be, I still think that he could be a really decent player, but it all depends on his growth and development, and I just don't think he's going to get that with the rumored head coach that's supposed to come in, because the running meme of the Timberwolves is starting to come again as one of the candidates for this job is Fred Hoiberg. And although Fred Hoiberg is a very good young offensive coach, I just don't know if I buy it, in my opinion. I think Fred Hoiberg had his chance with this team in Chicago, and it's just surprising to me that they fired him right away. And I talked about this in a different video as well, because if you were going to choose between Jimmy Butler and Fred Hoiberg, why not keep Fred Hoiberg and see what you can do with this team? Obviously, Larry Markkinen was hurt, so this team wasn't playing very well, and obviously the players didn't really listen as much, but you're not doing the team justice by firing the head coach that you promised to keep him there because you decided to pick him over Jimmy Butler. And I just think that Fred Hoiberg, in my opinion, is just going to have the same result as he did this season with the Timberwolves. I just don't think it's going to work out for him. I just think that maybe Fred Hoiberg needs another couple of stints as an assistant coach in the NBA rather than coming from college straight to the NBA. I just think that maybe that's what they need to do, because I know that everyone's trying to look for the next Brad Stevens, the next Steve Kerr. Everyone's trying to look for that coach, but they're just not going to find it out of the blue. You're going to have to do your research. You're going to have to do your due diligence to find that guy. Greg Popovich's coaching line of trees has done pretty well. I think you should look there, in my opinion, first, then maybe look at someone else. But in my opinion, I just think that the Minnesota Timberwolves, probably this is a blessing in disguise for them. Although they were winning with Tom Thibodeau as the head coach, they went 15-12 after the trade. I just think that the way that the trade went down, the way that the whole situation went down, with the owner being willing to trade Jimmy Butler and with Tom Thibodeau not willing to trade Jimmy Butler, I just think that Tom Thibodeau, I cannot talk for some reason, but the reason why is Tom Thibodeau just lost the trust of guys like Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins, and it's just led to the situation now where we have no idea what Tom Thibodeau's next move will be. Will he be a defensive coach? Will he even be a head coach somewhere else down the line? Who knows what'll happen? But I want to know you guys, and of course the Timberwolves fans, I want to know from you guys as well. What do you guys think of this whole situation with Tom Thibodeau? Was it a surprising move that they fired him, or were you guys seeing the writing on the wall as I did the whole time? I'd love to know your guys' opinion on that. And also, with the new coach coming in, I know it's an interim coach now, but if they do bring in a Fred Hoiberg or a different young head coach, will he be able to help Karl-Anthony Towns unlock that superstar potential that a lot of teams had as a guy that they wanted to build their team around? I would love to know your comments and suggestions in the comments down below. But anyway, guys, this has been your boy Bernie here on The Charge, giving the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. And guys, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you turn on post notifications and make sure you check out our videos as we talk about fixer-uppers. I did one on the Chicago Bulls. I probably should do one on the Minnesota Timberwolves at some point. But anyway, guys, this has been your boy Bernie here, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.